Clint Eastwood walked into the hospital like any other day, his face hidden behind a cap and sunglasses, not seeking attention, just looking for a routine checkup. The hospital was an ordinary one, tucked away in a quiet part of town. But Clint knew it well. He owned the place, a decision he made years ago after witnessing the lack of care and professionalism at many health institutions. He had invested in the hospital, turning it into one of the most respected places for care. But today, Clint wasn't attempted there as a businessman or a director. He was just a man seeking answers to some nagging health concerns. As he stepped into the waiting room, his presence was barely noticed. After all, Clint Eastwood was known for his low-key demeanor, especially when he was not in the public eye. The receptionist greeted him warmly as usual, not recognizing who he was immediately. But that didn't about TMD matter to Clint. He wasn't here for any special treatment. He just wanted to get checked out and go back to his life. As Clint sat down flipping through a magazine, a young doctor in his late 30s came out to call the next patient. The doctor, a new hire, glanced at Clint but didn't TMT seem to recognize him. Without a second thought, the doctor, with a slight smirk, said, "Oh, I hope you route him or not one of those entitled celebrities who think they can just walk in here and demand treatment without following the process." Clint looked up, his eyes calm but piercing. The doctor, unaware of who he was speaking to, continued, "Oh, some people think they can just get special treatment because they are famous. Let me tell you, this hospital runs by the rules, not by who you are." There was a brief pause as Clint stood up slowly, removing his sunglasses. The doctor TM's smug smile started to fade as he realized the man in front of him wasn't just any ordinary patient. It was Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor, director, and owner of the very hospital he had just insulted. Clint TM's voice was low, steady, and laced with quiet authority. "I own this hospital, doctor," Clint said, his tone cutting through the tension like a knife. The doctor, TM's face went pale as realization hit. He stammered, his confidence crumbling. "Why, I didn't Tim. I'm so sorry, sir." Clint didn't want TM to give him a chance to finish. Next time, remember that respect is earned no matter who you think you TM are talking to." Without another word, Clint turned and walked away, his steps slow and deliberate. The doctor stood frozen in place, trying to process the moment that had just unfolded. As Clint walked through the halls, he knew the message had been sent, not with anger or confrontation, but with a simple truth. Respect wasn't something that came with titles, but with the way you treated people. The doctor stood frozen in the lobby, his face still flushed with embarrassment. He had just insulted one of the most respected figures in Hollywood, and worse, he had done it in the very place Clint Eastwood had helped build. Word spread quickly through the hospital. Staff whispered in the hallways, nurses exchanged glances, and even the janitors had heard what had happened. The doctor, now feeling the weight of his mistake, tried to salvage what little dignity he had left, but nothing could undo the humiliation of disrespecting Clint, a man who had quietly shaped the institution he worked for. As the day went on, the young doctor TM's anxiety grew. He could not focus on his patients. His mind kept racing back to Clint TM's calm but firm words. "I own this hospital." He replayed the moment in his head, each time feeling a little worse. But as the hours passed, he also began to reflect on something Clint had said: a respect was earned no matter who you thought you were. It was not just about celebrity or titles. The doctor realized he had been so quick to judge Clint, assuming the man in front of him was just another entitled, arrogant celebrity, but he had been wrong. Clint had shown him something more important: how to stay grounded, how to approach every person with decency. Later that afternoon, Clint TM's checkup was finished, and as he stood to leave, the doctor made a decision. He walked toward Clint, who was sitting alone in the lobby reading a book. The doctor, his face still carrying the weight of the earlier mistake, approached cautiously. Clint looked up as he heard the footsteps, recognizing the young doctor. The air between them felt heavy with unspoken tension. "Wamster Eastwood," the doctor began, his voice quieter than before. "Oh, I just wanted to apologize for what I said earlier. I was rude and I made assumptions. I should, Tom, maybe treated you with more respect. Tim, truly sorry." Clint studied him for a moment, his face unreadable. Then, with a calmness that only Clint Eastwood could, "Master," he replied. "Oh, you know, son, we all make mistakes. What matters is how we handle them. You've got a long road ahead of you in this field. People are counting on you, patients, families, staff. But the most important thing is that you learn from this. Humility goes a long way." The doctor nodded, his shoulders loosening as Clint hears TM's words sank in. Clint did know TMT. Need to say more out, he had already made his point. "Oh, now," Clint continued, standing up and putting on his cap. "Ooh, wow, TM. I'll let you get back to saving lives. Just remember, treat everyone with respect because you never know who TM's sitting across from you." With that, Clint turned and walked out of the hospital, his presence as powerful as ever. The doctor stood there for a moment, the weight of his apology and Clint TM's lesson settling in. He was no TM, just a doctor anymore. He was someone who had been given a rare opportunity to learn from one of the best. And the lesson was simple: respect, not just for the patients, but for everyone. The journey ahead would be shaped by that understanding, a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. The following weeks were filled with changes, not just in the hospital, but within the young doctor himself. The memory of Clint Eastwood TM's words lingered in his mind every time he stepped into a patient TM's room, every time he interacted with the hospital staff. He found himself more patient, more aware of his behavior. He didn't TMT want to be the kind of person who assumed he knew everything. Clint had opened his eyes to something far more valuable than just medical expertise. It was the power of humility and respect. The doctor became more conscious of his tone, his attitude, and the way he treated everyone around him. He found himself reflecting more deeply on his career, realizing that while medical knowledge was crucial, understanding people was just as important. His interactions with patients, many of whom were nervous or anxious about their health, changed. He started taking the time to listen to them, to hear their stories, and most importantly, to treat them with the respect they deserved no matter their background. Word spread quickly about the Dr. TM's newfound approach. Patients began requesting him specifically, not just because of his skill but because they felt heard and respected in his presence. He was slowly but surely earning the trust he had once taken for granted. But what really struck him was the moment he saw Clint again. It was Nader TMTT planned. Clint had come in for a routine checkup, and this time the doctor was waiting in the lobby as Clint arrived. There was no grand entrance, no fanfare, just Clint walking in as quietly as ever. But this time the doctor was ready. He approached Clint without hesitation, his posture more confident but still respectful. "Mr. Eastwood, he said, his voice steady. I just wanted to thank you again for what you said that day. Your time has made a real difference, not just in how I treat others, but in how I approach my life. I'm trying to live by your words every day." Clint looked at him for a moment, his expression softening slightly. "I told you before," Clint said with a small smile. "Oh, you didn't attempt to need to thank me. Just make sure you are doing right by people every single day. That's here on TM's all anyone can ask for." The doctor, feeling the weight of Clinty TM's words once again, nodded in appreciation. "Oh, TM, I'll make sure of it." Clint offered a slight nod before walking past him, as effortlessly as always. The encounter was brief, but it was powerful. The doctor understood now this wasn't a TMT about seeking approval. It was about learning to stand on his own, to be the kind of person who inspired respect through his actions, not his title. As Clint left the hospital once again, the IA doctor returned to his work, but something inside him had changed. He wasn't just a doctor now. He was someone who had learned the value of quiet strength, of leading by example, and of treating others the way he wanted to be treated. It was not always easy, but every day he worked to be better, to be the kind of person who earned respect without asking for it. And that, he knew, was Clint Eastwood, Tim's true gift to him. Months passed, and the young doctor continued to grow in his career, all the while living by the lessons Clint Eastwood had subtly instilled in him. It wasn't just about his technical skills anymore. It was about the way he made people feel, how he treated every person who crossed his path with the dignity they deserved. His relationships with patients and staff improved. Even, his colleagues began noticing the shift in his attitude. He wasn't the same brash, overconfident doctor who had walked into Clint at Tim's office months ago. He was someone who listened, someone who took time to understand. But one thing he hadn't expected was the unexpected encounter that would change his life forever. One day, as the doctor was walking down the hospital corridor, a familiar figure appeared at the far end of the hall. It was Clint Eastwood. He was there to visit someone, a close friend who had been admitted for a brief stay. This time, Clint's arrival wasn't TMT about an appointment, but simply about being there for someone in need. The doctor, who had been moving in the opposite direction, paused when he saw Clint. This time, Clint wasn't just a patient or a celebrity. He was a reminder of the journey the doctor had taken. Without hesitation, the doctor walked over to him. Clint noticed him immediately, offering a small nod in acknowledgement. The doctor, with newfound confidence, approached Clint and said, "Mr. Eastwood, I just wanted to let you know that we tried to live by what you taught me. About respect, humility, and treating people as they deserve to be treated. It made a difference in my work and in my life. I just wanted to say thank you." Clint paused for a moment, looking at him with those steady eyes that always seemed to carry the weight of wisdom. "I'm glad to hear that," Clint said with a rare smile. "But remember, it's not about what I taught you. It's about what you choose to do with it. Every day we have the chance to be better, to listen more, to judge less. That is how we make a real difference." The doctor, feeling a profound sense of gratitude, nodded in understanding. Clint then turned and continued his walk down the hall, leaving the doctor standing there with a renewed sense of purpose. From that moment on, the young doctor knew that his journey wasn't just about his work. It was about the impact he had on the world, the people he met, and the lessons he chose to carry forward. As for Clint, he may not have known the full extent of the influence he had on the doctor, but his quiet wisdom had shaped a life. And that was something no amount of fame or fortune could ever replace. Please subscribe to the channel for Clint Eastwood respect. Thanks.